The wind howled outside as the night grew colder. Jack sat alone in his small wooden cabin, sipping hot coffee and staring into the fireplace. The flames danced, cracking softly in the silence. Life on this quiet planet, far from the big cities, was peaceful, but lonely. Jack liked it that way. He didn't need noise, people, or problems. Suddenly he heard it. Knock, knock. It was soft, almost too soft to notice. He frowned, stood up slowly, and walked toward the door. He wasn't expecting anyone. No one came here, not at this hour, and not in the middle of a snowstorm. Knock. Knock. Again. Weak, gentle. Like someone didn't have the strength to knock louder. Jack opened the door carefully. The freezing wind blew into his face and snowflakes hit his boots. But that wasn't what caught his attention. There on the ground was a bundle of cloth. It was shaking. Tiny, slow movements like a heartbeat. Jack knelt down, heart racing, and pulled the cloth back. It was a baby. A strange one. Its skin was smooth and pale purple. Its eyes were big and dark like two small moons. Thin antennae rested softly on its forehead. The child wasn't human, but it was real. Jack blinked. What the hell? He looked around, but no one was there. The snow covered any tracks. The baby made a soft sound, like a cry. Cold air filled its lungs. It was shaking badly. Jack picked it up quickly. It's okay, little one. I got you. Then he noticed the note pinned to the cloth. Written in poor English, it said, "Please help her. She is all I have. I cannot stay. They will find me. Please, human. Save her." Jack stood frozen for a second. Who left this child here? What kind of mother would run away? Was it a trick? A trap? But as he looked into the baby's wide, wet eyes, he felt something strange, compassion. Jack brought the baby inside. He wrapped her in a blanket and turned the heat up. Then he gently fed her some milk using an old bottle he kept for emergencies. The child drank slowly, her tiny hands grabbing his finger. "She's starving," he whispered. He watched her breathe, so small, so helpless, so alone. He sat there for a while holding her, not sure what to do next. Then he stood up, stepped outside, and looked into the darkness. Snow was still falling, but something shimmered on the ground. Glowing blood. Jack stepped closer. It wasn't red. It was bright green, almost like liquid light. A trail led away, from his cabin and into the trees. Whoever left the baby near was bleeding. Jack grabbed his jacket and flashlight and followed the glowing trail. Each step felt heavier. Was it a trap? Should he have stayed inside? But he couldn't forget the message. She is all I have. The trail led deeper into the forest. The trees creaked in the cold. The wind howled louder. Jack moved carefully, heart beating fast. Then he saw her. A figure collapsed against a tree. Thin, shivering. Her skin was the same color as the baby's. Purple. Her long silver hair was tangled and covered in snow. Her clothes were torn, burned, in places. She was bleeding badly. Jack approached slowly. "Hey, are you the mother?" She opened her eyes weakly, glowing blue, tired, full of pain. "You took her in?" she asked, her voice shaking. Jack nodded. "She's safe. I have her at the cabin." Tears slid down the alien woman's face. "Thank you." She tried to stand but collapsed again. Jack caught her just in time. "You need help," he said firmly. She shook her head. "No. They're coming. If they find her, they will kill you too." Jack stared at her. "Who's coming?" But she passed out. Jack didn't waste time. He lifted her into his arms. She was light, like holding a feather. Her body was freezing. As he walked back toward his cabin, one thought burned in his mind. What have I gotten myself into? But another thought followed. I won't let them die. Not on my doorstep. Not tonight. Jack pushed open the cabin door with his shoulder, carefully carrying the unconscious alien woman inside. The baby, wrapped in a blanket, was still asleep in the basket near the fire. Jack gently placed the woman on his couch. Her skin was cold, her breathing shallow. He didn't know anything about alien biology, but he did what he could. He covered her with blankets. He made warm broth and tried to wake her. Nothing worked. She looked like she had been running for days. Her body had bruises, strange burn marks, and deep cuts that leaked glowing green blood. Jack sat beside her thinking. Who was she running from? What was this baby? What danger had he just welcomed into his home? Then, suddenly, her eyes opened. She gasped like she had been drowning. Her body jolted upward, confused and scared. "It's okay," Jack said quickly, raising his hands. "You're safe. You're inside. The baby's here too. She's fine." The alien woman looked toward the fire. Her eyes landed on the small bundle resting in the basket. Her shoulders dropped in relief. I didn't think I would make it," she whispered. Jack grabbed a cup of water and gave it to her. "Here, drink. You're burning up." She sipped slowly, her hands shaking. "My name's Jack," he said. "What's yours?" She hesitated. "Sierra." Jack nodded. "Sierra, got it." He looked her over. "You're bleeding bad. You need real help." "A hospital." "No," she snapped. "No doctors, no tech, no calls, please." Her voice cracked, full of fear. Jack blinked. "All right. Okay, no calls." There was a long pause. The fire crackled quietly. "Why did you leave her on my doorstep?" he finally asked. Sierra's face twisted with pain, emotional pain. They were close. I couldn't run fast enough. I thought maybe you would help. Humans still have hearts. Jack didn't answer that. He wasn't sure what to say. He had 100 questions, but one came first. "Who's chasing you?" Sierra's eyes darkened. "Sky Lords." Jack frowned. "Never heard of them." "You will," she said coldly. "They take worlds. They take people. They take children." Her hand reached for the baby's blanket. "They want her. She's special." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Special how?" Sierra shook her head. "Too young. Too soon to tell. But they sensed it. That's why we had to run." Suddenly a loud beep beep echoed outside. Not from the cabin, from far away. Sierra froze. "They found us." Jack grabbed his rifle from the wall. "What was that sound?" "A scout drone," Sierra said. "They scan for energy signals. If they find her, they'll call the others." Jack rushed to the window and looked out. In the dark sky, a small glowing shape hovered between the trees. A floating metal sphere with blinking lights. He turned back to Sierra. "Can we hide?" Sierra sat up slowly, clutching her side. "It's too late to run. It's scanning. It will find her." Jack thought fast. "Okay, then we fight." Sierra looked at him in surprise. "You'd fight them? For us?" He didn't answer. He just moved quickly, putting out the fire, closing the blinds, loading bullets. Sierra stared at him. Then, without a word, she stood up slowly and held out her hand. A faint blue light glowed in her palm. "What's that?" Jack asked. "My mind. My last weapon." Outside, the drone buzzed closer. Its searchlight turned toward the cabin. Inside, Jack stood by the door, rifle ready. Sierra stood beside him, her palm glowing brighter. Then, crack! The door burst open. The drone entered, blinking, whirring, scanning. The baby cried. Sierra screamed. A shockwave of blue light exploded from her hand, hitting the drone and sending it flying back. It crashed into the wall and sparked violently. But it wasn't destroyed. It buzzed, twitched, and sent a signal into the sky. Flash. A red beam shot up into the clouds. Jack's heart dropped. What did it just do? Sierra closed her eyes. It called them. Jack clenched his fists. Then, we don't have much time. The night was no longer quiet. The drone's red signal faded into the sky. and the forest around Jack's cabin felt like it was holding its breath. The baby cried softly, sensing the tension. Jack paced the room while Sierra leaned against the wall, still weak but standing. "They're coming," she whispered, "and they won't ask questions." Jack looked at the broken drone lying on the floor. It still sparked and twitched like a dying insect. "How many will come?" he asked. "Maybe 3, maybe 30, Sierra said. "Skylords don't forgive. Escape. They bring full force, even for one mother." Jack sighed, checking his old rifle. It was strong, but not strong enough for aliens with tech. "Then we need to disappear." Sierra raised her head. "You can still leave. Take your car. Save yourself." Jack looked at her with calm eyes. "And leave you two here? No chance." Sierra blinked. "Why? You don't even know us." Jack walked over and gently lifted the baby into his arms. She stopped crying at his touch. "Maybe not, but I know what it means to be left behind." Silence. Heavy. Real. By morning, the sky changed color. Pale green clouds drifted above the trees. Jack packed what he could: food, water, old survival gear. He wrapped the baby tightly and handed her to Sierra, who was strong enough now to carry her. "We're heading to an old mine," Jack said. "It's hidden deep in the hills. No signals, no tech. They can't track us there." "How far?" Sierra asked. "Half a day," he said. "If we don't get spotted." They moved fast, following animal trails, hiding under thick trees. Sierra walked with pain in her steps but kept going for the baby. The baby, in her mother's arms, stared at Jack the whole time. Big black eyes, silent, almost aware. By noon, they reached the old mining zone. Rusty buildings, broken tunnels, dirt roads covered in moss. It had been abandoned for years, but Jack remembered every corner. He had worked here once before. The accident. He led them inside a tunnel. "It's not warm," he warned, "but it's safe." Sierra looked around. "This place feels dead." "It is," Jack replied. "That's why they won't look here." They made a small camp inside. Jack set up lights and heaters using old batteries. He gave the baby some mashed food and checked Sierra's wounds again. Then Sierra said something strange. "She is listening." Jack looked up. "The baby?" Sierra nodded. "Her name is Ilari. She understands more than you think. She's not like other children." Jack stared at the baby. "Why? What makes her so different?" Sierra looked away, her voice soft. "She was born with energy inside her. A rare kind. Not power like machines, but a kind that bends life itself." Jack didn't understand. "You mean like magic?" Sierra didn't smile. "No. Like life and death. Her presence changes things." Jack felt a chill. He looked at Ilari again, and for a second he swore her eyes glowed. That night the sky above the forest cracked with thunder. But it wasn't a storm. It was engines. Alien engines. 3 ships, black and silent, descended above the cabin Jack had left behind. Sierra gasped. "They're scanning." Jack checked his old handheld tracker. "No signals here, but we have to stay quiet." Far away, the Skylords entered Jack's cabin. They found the wrecked drone and scanned its memory. A cold voice spoke from the ship. "They fled. Follow heat traces. Burn the ground if needed. In the mine." Sierra curled around her baby, whispering lullabies in a soft alien language. Jack sat near the entrance with his rifle, listening. A strange feeling crept over him, like they were being watched. He stepped outside quietly and saw footprints. In the mud, not his, not Sierra's. He raised the rifle, heart racing. "Who's there?" he shouted. No answer, only the wind. Then he saw it. A figure in armor standing still in the shadows like a ghost. Glowing red eyes locked on Jack. Jack pulled the trigger. Bang! The shot echoed through the hills, but the figure vanished. Gone like smoke. Jack ran back inside. "They found us." Sierra stood up, holding Ilari close. What now? She asked. Jack clenched his jaw. We fight, or we disappear again. The first fire started at the edge of the forest. Not from lightning, not from accident, from the Sky Lords. Their ships hovered above the trees like silent predators, unleashing beams of burning plasma. Trees exploded into flames. Animals ran. Smoke rose like black thunder into the sky. Jack watched from the entrance of the mine, his face tight with fear. They're flushing us out, he muttered. Sierra stood behind him, holding Alari close. They know we're near. They're burning the forest so we can't hide. Jack turned to her. We need to move again. We can't keep running, she said softly. Not with the baby, not with this fire. He stared at the smoke rising in the distance. The fire was spreading fast, too fast. They'd be trapped inside the mine if they waited any longer. Jack grabbed his old backpack and opened a hidden compartment. Inside was a small box of explosives, rusty but still usable. What are those? Sierra asked. Mining charges, he said. Old ones. If we use them right, we can give them a surprise. As the fire neared the mine, Jack and Sierra worked, fast. He placed charges near fallen rocks and loaded his rifle. She carved symbols into the ground with glowing fingers, alien runes that shimmered blue. What are you doing? He asked. Wards, she said. They slow machines. I can't stop the Sky Lords, but I can confuse them for a few moments. Jack nodded. That's all I need. By the time the fire reached the mine, the Sky Lords had landed. They moved, like shadows, tall, armored, with sharp helmets and glowing red visors. They made no sound, no talking, just marching. Their leader walked ahead, scanning with a device that beeped softly. Inside the mine, Sierra whispered to Alari, who was strangely calm. She's not crying, Jack noticed. She senses it too, Sierra said. This is the moment we stand or fall. Jack crouched behind a rock, rifle ready, finger on the trigger. He could hear boots echoing in the tunnel now. One step, then two, then more. Closer, closer. The Sky Lords entered the mine. Boom. Jack triggered the first charge. The tunnel shook. As rocks fell, crushing the path behind the aliens. They were trapped. Jack leaped out, firing. His bullets hit the first soldier in the chest, no effect. Armor's too thick, he yelled. Sierra raised her hand. A blast of blue light shot from her palm, pushing two Sky Lords backward. Their visors flickered, but more came. Too many. One aimed a long black rifle at Jack. Alari cried, but not a normal cry. It was a strange hum like music and wind and thunder mixed into one. The sound echoed through the mine. The walls vibrated. The Sky Lords froze. One dropped his weapon and knelt. The others twitched, confused. Sierra gasped. Her gift is waking. Ilari's cry grew louder and brighter. Light poured from her tiny body, pure white and gold. The Sky Lords backed away. One of them shouted something in an alien language. Then, they ran. They left the mine. All of them. Jack stood in shock. What? What just happened? Sierra dropped to her knees, tears in her eyes. She protected us, she whispered. She made them fear. Jack looked down at the baby glowing in Sierra's arms. She's just a child. No, Sierra said. She's more than that now. Outside, the fire continued to burn. The forest was blackened, trees destroyed, smoke everywhere. The Sky Lords returned to their ship. Inside, a tall figure watched the smoke on a screen. He wasn't like the others. He wore no helmet. His face was sharp and scarred. His eyes burned with hate. The child has awakened, he said coldly. We must take her alive. A soldier stepped forward. Sir, the human helped protect her. The commander's voice turned to ice. Then the human dies first. He looked toward the burning woods. Begin phase 2. Back in the mine, Jack poured water over the last flames. Sierra leaned against the wall, exhausted, still holding Alari. She saved us, Jack said again, more to himself. But now they want her more than ever. Sierra whispered. They saw what she can do. Jack nodded. Then next time, we don't hide. Sierra looked up at him surprised. What do you mean? Jack picked up his rifle. His eyes were sharp now, focused. I mean, I'm done running too. The fire outside had finally died. Only black ash and smoke remained where once tall trees stood. The mine entrance still glowed faintly from the baby's strange power. Inside, the silence felt heavy, like the world had paused after something. Big Jack sat by the tunnel wall, tired but alert. His rifle rested on his lap, eyes still watching the shadows. Even after the Skylords ran, he didn't feel safe. Sierra rocked Ilari gently in her arms. The child had stopped glowing and now slept peacefully, curled into her mother's chest. Jack finally asked, "Why is she so powerful?" Sierra looked at him, her voice low. "Because of what I am, and what her father was." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Wait, you mean her father wasn't like you?" "No," she said. "He was human." Jack blinked. "You had a child with a human?" Sierra nodded slowly. "Before I escaped the Skylords, I was taken to a human colony they had captured. There was a man there. He was kind to me when others looked away. We were both prisoners." She touched Ilari's forehead softly. "She is not full alien. She is part human. That's why her power is different. She was born of pain, but also love." Jack stared at her for a moment, unsure what to say. Sierra continued. "The Skylords learned of her birth. They believed she could be used, trained to serve them. I refused. I escaped." Jack looked down. "That's why they're so desperate." Sierra nodded. "Yes. They don't care about me. They want her." Long silence followed. Then Jack said something he had never said out loud. "I lost someone once too." Sierra looked at him gently. "Who?" "My wife. Years ago. She got sick, and I didn't have the money or the tools to save her. I buried her near this forest." Sierra said nothing, just listened. "I shut myself. Away after that," Jack continued. "No family, no friends, just this place. I thought I was done with people." He looked at her now. "But you and Ilari, you changed that." Sierra's eyes filled with emotion. "And you changed everything for us." Ilari stirred in her sleep and reached out, a tiny hand landing on Jack's arm. He froze. Her fingers glowed faintly, not with power, but with warmth. A strange feeling passed through him. His heart beat faster, not from fear, but something deeper. Sierra smiled. "She knows. She feels your heart. She trusts you." Jack swallowed hard. "I never thought I'd feel like this again, like I belong to something." Sierra leaned closer. "You do, with us." Suddenly, the old tracker Jack kept beside him beeped, one soft sound, then another. Jack grabbed it and stared. The signal wasn't from the ships. It was a ground unit, moving close. Sierra jumped up, her face turning cold. "They're coming. This time, they're not just looking." Jack stood, loaded his rifle again. "Then we're ready." "No," Sierra said firmly. "They'll try to take her alive, but they'll kill us both first." Jack clenched his fists. "I won't let them touch her, or you." Ilari woke again. This time her eyes didn't look like a baby's. They looked ancient. She blinked and spoke. Only one word. "Family," Sierra gasped. She spoke. Jack stared in awe. She's just a baby." "She learns fast," Sierra whispered. "She sees inside us. She knows what we feel." Outside, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed. Metal boots. 3 sets. Maybe more. The Skylords were almost here. Jack checked his explosives. He looked at the narrow part of the tunnel. "We trap them. Block them in." Sierra nodded. "And if that fails?" Jack looked at Ilari, then at Sierra. "Then we protect what's ours." They waited in silence as the Skylords entered the tunnel. Slow, sure, deadly. Jack pressed the detonator. Boom! The first charge exploded but only blocked part of the tunnel. The aliens kept coming. Sierra raised her hand. But this time, Ilari reached out and placed her small hand over her mother's. A bright light filled the tunnel. Not fear. Not pain. Strength. The aliens stopped walking. Their visors cracked. Their armor hissed with steam. Jack stared in disbelief. She's doing it again, Sierra whispered. No. This time, she's not stopping them. She's speaking to them. The lead Sky Lord dropped his weapon. He looked at the child, Ikak, and stepped back. One by one, they retreated, without a fight, without a word. Jack looked at Sierra. What just happened? Sierra smiled, tears in her eyes. She gave them a memory, a feeling, something they forgot long ago, mercy. The ground trembled. Jack stood at the edge of the old mining ridge, wind rushing through his coat. Behind him, Sierra and Ilari waited in the shadow of the rocks. The baby had stopped glowing, but her presence still felt heavy in the air, like something sacred. In the distance, the sky cracked open with thunder. It wasn't a storm. It was them. 3 massive black ships pierced through the clouds like dark knives. They didn't hover like before. They landed. This time, the Skylords weren't sending drones or scouts. They were coming themselves. Sierra placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. They know she won't come quietly. They'll burn this whole planet, if they must. Jack didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the ridge. He was silent, but fire burned inside him. He turned. We can't run anymore, we make our stand here. Sierra nodded. What do we have? Jack opened a steel case he had dug out from under the old mine. Grenades, EMP charges, 2 sniper rifles, and a set of hand-built landmines. I used to train soldiers, he said. After my wife died, I stopped. Thought I had no one left to protect. He looked toward Sierra and Ilari. Now I do. They spent hours preparing. Jack wired explosives to choke points. Sierra placed alien runes at weak spots, designed to disorient. Machines and confused sensors. They set traps, hid in high ground, and waited. Sierra cradled Ilari close and whispered, We are not just running anymore, my child. We are standing. As the sun sank, the forest filled with a mechanical hum. Dozens of Skylord soldiers moved through the trees in perfect formation. They weren't like before. No hesitation, no scanning. This time, they came to destroy. Their leader walked in, front, a tall, armored figure with no helmet. His face was scarred, his eyes cold. The commander. He stopped at the bottom of the ridge and raised a strange black staff. A blue light spread around him, a shield, Jack guessed. He spoke in a deep voice loud enough to echo through the valley. Give us the child, human. We do not want your world. We want her gift. Jack stepped forward, rifle in hand. She's not a gift. She's a child. And she's not yours. The commander's lips curled. Then you choose extinction. He raised his hand. The battle began. Boom. The first landmine exploded, taking 2 Skylords down. Sierra activated her wards. Blinding flashes of blue light burst across the rocks, making the soldiers scatter. Jack fired from a high ledge, hitting visors and knees, slowing them. But there were too many. They kept coming. 2 Skylords climbed the sidewall of the mine. Jack turned fast and threw a grenade. Blast! Their bodies slammed into rock, smoking. But then, he heard something behind him. Footsteps. Close. He turned too late. The commander stood there alone, unaffected by the traps. Jack raised his gun, but the commander grabbed it and crushed it in one hand. You are only human, the commander said coldly. Jack clenched his fists. Yeah, but humans fight harder when they protect someone they love. He punched, but the alien caught his arm and threw him down. Sierra screamed and stood between Jack and the commander, arms wide, Ilari still in her arms. She is not yours, she shouted. The commander paused. Ilari opened her eyes. They weren't just glowing. They burned like suns. She floated slightly in Sierra's arms, no longer a helpless child, but something more. She spoke, her voice not of a baby, but of something ancient. I see what you are, broken, cold, empty. I will not be yours. The commander stepped back. Impossible, she's just a wave. A ripple of gold light shot out from Ilari, knocking him backward. His armor cracked. His staff snapped in half. The other soldiers stopped. One by one, they dropped their weapons. They bowed, not to the commander, but to Ilari. Jack stood, limping, and looked around. What just happened? Sira whispered. They saw her soul, and for a second they remembered what they lost long ago. The commander, now broken and defeated, looked up at Ilari one last time. You could have ruled the stars. Ilari replied softly. Then I choose to walk among the kind. He collapsed, silent. The Skylords left. Their ships rose and disappeared, into the clouds, quiet, empty, and never to return. Jack sat down beside a rock, exhausted. Sira joined him, Ilari still glowing faintly in her arms. Jack smiled. So, what now? Sira looked toward the stars. Now, we live. The war was over. The fire had turned to ash. The Skylords were gone, fled like shadows before sunrise. Their ships had vanished into the clouds, leaving no sign behind. But something had stayed behind. Hope. Jack stood at the edge of the forest, looking at the rising sun. The light touched the burned trees, the black ground, and the broken hills, and still somehow the world felt alive. Behind him, Sira walked out of the mine with Ilari in her arms. The baby giggled softly, her dark eyes shining with light. No more fear, no more running, only peace. Jack turned and smiled. How is she? Sira smiled back. She's brighter. Jack chuckled. That's one way to say it. She glows like a star. Sira nodded. Because now she feels safe. With you. Jack looked away, a little shy. I never thought I'd be part of something again, let alone a family. Sira stepped closer. You didn't just protect us. You believed in us. You gave us more than shelter. You gave us a home. Ilari reached out to Jack. He took her carefully and she rested her head on his chest. He closed his eyes, holding her like she'd always been his. Weeks passed. They rebuilt the cabin. Jack worked in the mornings, cutting wood and fixing broken walls. Sira helped, using her hands to grow small plants in the soil. Her people's gift was more than light and sound. Ilari grew fast, not just physically, but in awareness. She spoke early, understood feelings deeply. One day, Jack cut his hand on sharp wood. She crawled over, held his palm, and the wound disappeared. She has healing inside her, Sira whispered, but it's guided by love. One evening, Jack sat on the porch watching the stars. Sira joined him, 2 mugs in her hands. She sat beside him, silent at first. Then she said, The galaxy is big, Jack, but I've never felt more at peace than here, with you. Jack looked up at the night sky. Do you think they'll come back? He asked. Sira shook her head. Not like before. Ilari reached into their minds, into their history. She showed them something even power couldn't give them. What's that? Forgiveness. Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he whispered, She's going to change the universe, isn't she? Sira smiled. Yes, but first, she needed a father. Jack looked at her. His voice was soft, and she needed her mother. That night, Ilari dreamed of stars and voices, of worlds unknown and songs from ancient skies, and she smiled. Months turned into years. Words spread across nearby. Planets, whispers of a child of 2 worlds, born of sorrow, raised by kindness. Some feared her, some worshipped her, but no one dared chase her again, because behind her stood a man with fire in his heart and a mother with light in her soul. One day, as Ilari reached her 5th year, She built a beacon. Not a weapon. Not a message. Of war. Just a small light, simple, golden and warm. She placed it on the tallest hill near the cabin, and when it lit up, it sent one message into space. Come if you are lost. Come if you need peace, we are home. Others came, not to conquer, not to take, but to heal. And slowly, the quiet planet became more than a home. It became a place of new beginnings. One cold evening, as soft snow began to fall, Jack stood by the fire with Ilari on his shoulders. Sira stood beside them. Ilari looked up at the sky and whispered, "Papa?" "Yes," Jack replied. She pointed to the stars. "Can I show others what love feels like you showed me?" Jack smiled, eyes warm. "Yes, little star, that's exactly what you're meant to do." And under the stars, where once there was only silence, laughter echoed. Not just from a man, not just from a woman, but from a family. Stronger than war, brighter than fire, and more human than anyone could ever explain.